Okay, YouTube, this is Reporter One back with the Bilderberg Just continuing my research with the recent worldwide earthquake swarm that occurred between the 11th and the 12th of April 2012. And so let me break it down for you guys. So basically, I started at the very top of this list. Um, and I started plotting these stations on Google Earth. Um, and I started to plot the approximate time where the most violent shaking started to end. Within I want to say within an approximate half-hour time frame. So if we look at these charts, let's for instance pick, I don't know, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. So I'd pull up this chart and then we count back 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. You can see it's not as bad, but you get into that 11th hour and you have a lot of shaking. So you follow this line, and sometimes you can count backwards from these lines too, and that makes it a little easier. So I'm assuming that when I plotted the dot for GTMO, I'm assuming I put the ending time around between the 11th and the 12th hour UTC. So we're going to go to Google Earth. And there it is. I had made the approximation 11.66. That's obviously not 11 hours and 66 minutes. That's 6.66, a fraction of an hour. Okay, so that's like 11 and 2/3 hours. Is right around when the shaking ended. So I went around this whole chart right here, this whole series of charts. And I have to say I've gone through about, where did I stop? There's Norway, Chile. I've done about half of these. There's just too many to go through. And I went around the entire world and I started placing these markers all over the place as to when the when based upon my observations, the majority of the shaking sort of ceased. If you can see in this general area, they're all within about an hour of each other. Going around the whole world, you can see this was like the 11th and the quarter hour in Bermuda, back in the United States. Let's see, starting over in Massachusetts, the majority of the shaking stopped between 11 and 12. Central U.S. between the 12th and the 13th hour. The same thing for New Mexico, the 12th and the 13th hour. Moving a little bit more south, the 11th and 12th hour. Further south and west, the 11th and the upper third of the hour. Same for this whole area right over here, more or less. Getting further down, further south, you have these higher readings, and then you have a lower reading. Let's go around to some other points that I've plotted. I believe this one's midway. My computer would stop lagging. This would make my life a lot easier. So midway was actually much sooner. The shaking stopped between the 10th and the 11th hour UTC. Scrolling over. Guam, Martian, the Guam itself is around 12 UTC. Basically, from what I'm seeing, from all these plots that points that I've plotted around the world, the only conclusion that I can come to is that it appears the planet was rung like a bell. There is no other better explanation to this. There is no rhyme or reason so far, from what I'm seeing, as far as all these plots are concerned, you know, when you ring a bell, you hit it once, it goes wong, you know, and then you have certain oscillations that just slowly increase and then decrease in amplitude, and then increase and then decrease until that whole wave kind of just flutters out towards the end. And that appears to be what happened in this situation. So it's pretty much just really random within a relative 3-hour time span between 11 UTC and I would have to say around 14 UTC on which would have had to have been the 12th of April. See, this one, when I plotted this one, it made it seem that the majority of the shaking finished between 11 and 12. But basically, this is really disconcerting because it really doesn't let me pinpoint, you know, where this shaking all started from. Let's click here. Turkey, actually this one's between 15 and 14 UTC, so now we have a range of 5 hours. So that would be between the lowest I saw when it had stopped shaking, and that's somewhere in the Pacific between 10 UTC and 10 and 11 UTC. But here we have 15 to 14 UTC, according to these charts. And to be quite honest, these charts are just so out there. It's just really difficult to get an exact pinpoint of where the majority of the shaking sort of ended. So basically, I would, in a situation where all these lines are really jumbled, I would just count backwards, -6, -5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, until I could find where you would have the waveform not looking like this, but you know, the longer waveforms intermittent with these short waveforms. And then I just arbitrarily took a point where it just wasn't as crazy. And the only conclusion that I was able to come to was that somewhere it appears that this was something that happened deep within the Earth's crust. Of course, I could be wrong, but it just appears that the whole Earth was rung like a bell. And this is really disconcerting because nobody has any idea why this happened. There was an earthquake off the coast of Indonesia, and I don't think that one earthquake off the coast of Indonesia would cause all these tremors around the entire planet. I mean, I guess it's possible, but to have one earthquake and subsequent aftershocks shake the entire planet for almost 24 hours is absolutely insane. But basically all around this period of time, the Earth had been ringing like a bell. And that's the best analogy I can come up with at this point. What I might do is continue to plot the rest of these points to see if I can find a better correlation amongst the data points. But the only other thing that I can see consistently amongst most of these data points would be these little lines right here. I guess they would be between, between, I don't know, that appears to be between the 19th and 22nd hours UTC, right here, around this 50-minute mark. This particular signature is fairly consistent. I would have to say amongst 9 out of the 10 graphs that we're looking at. Going across Kazakhstan, we see that signature there. Go back to Australia, there's that same signature. Keep scrolling down. Spain, we kind of see it right there, but that's about an hour away. Papua New Guinea, we're still seeing these signatures right here. Let's find more. You can see that a little right there. We got a big one here, Taipei, Taiwan. Very similar signature all around that same period of time. You got a little blip there. And I think the time just changed on me too, and it updated, so everything moved down a bit. But scrolling back up, you can see more of that same signature here. A little bit here. There's that same signature here. The same signature here. Definitely here in the Philippines. In the Guam as well, saw that same signature. What is that? Solomon Islands, you can see kind of that same signature around that time stamp. The Rutland, Korea. It's just really weird how there's just so many consistencies all around the world. Japan, Kazakhstan, and it just doesn't, it does make sense, but it doesn't make sense because something like this shouldn't happen on a global scale. But that's just my more in-depth look as to what this global earthquake swarm is all about. I might go ahead and continue to plot more of these points, but to be honest, this is really starting to creep me out here. Because I really don't have a logical explanation for this. And if you do happen to have some kind of a logical explanation to this, feel free to post a comment under the video. I'll bump you towards the top if it makes sense. All of us YouTubers are just trying to figure out exactly what happened here. I'm just throwing out my ideas here and my investigative skills on this matter. So keep you posted on this. Like I asked before, if you have any more information on what's going on here, please let us know. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we will be continuing to dig down deeper into this mystery and the other mysteries that have been placed before us and will be placed before us. Again, this is Reporter 1 from the Bilderberg Group.info, signing off.